A bag of heroin slams onto the evidence table, found in the defendant's car during a routine traffic stop, a supposed open and shut case. Anya Sharma sits stone-faced at the defense table as the predominantly white jury stares at her with a mixture of disdain and preconceived judgment. Officers Ryan Miller and Ben Carter exchange subtle smirks as the prosecutor, Daniel Evans, arranges his papers with theatrical confidence. The judge adjusts his glasses. "How does the defendant plead?" Anya stands, her posture exuding a discipline that seems out of place. "Not guilty, Your Honor." "These officers planted that evidence. They profiled and targeted me specifically." Scoffs and murmurs ripple through the courtroom. The prosecutor rolls his eyes for the jury's benefit. Little do these officers, this prosecutor, or this jury know, they've just become pawns in a game they can't possibly comprehend. 3 weeks earlier, Anya's sleek electric coupe glides through a wealthy, manicured suburb of Austin, Texas. She's returning from a grueling covert operation in Bogota, exhausted but satisfied with the mission's quiet success. Her encrypted phone lights up. "Sharma," she answers, her voice a low monotone. "Confirmation on your 2 weeks of approved leave," her CIA handler, Robert Vance, says. "The director sends his compliments on the Bogota situation." "Tell him the asset is secure," Anya responds, her eyes clocking a police cruiser parked obscurely ahead. "Thanks for checking in." She ends the call, shifting seamlessly into her civilian cover identity. Blocks away, officers Ryan Miller and Ben Carter sit in their patrol car, bathed in the glow of their onboard computer. Ryan drums his fingers impatiently on the dash. Dead night. These tech money neighborhoods, nothing ever happens. Ben, the younger and more calculated of the two, shrugs while scrolling through his phone. "Easy money, man. Just patrol and look pretty." Ryan straightens suddenly, his predator's instinct kicking in as he spots Anya's car. "Well, hello. What do we have here?" Ben follows his gaze. "Nice car. All-electric import." "Too nice for someone who looks like her in this part of town," Ryan replies, his tone shifting from boredom to predatory interest. "Let's see what she's up to." Ben hesitates for a fraction of a second, the familiar internal debate of risk versus reward flashing through his mind, before nodding. He's the planner, the one who weighs the odds. "Your call." They pull out, their cruiser a shadow tailing Anya's silent sedan. Anya notices immediately. The rearview mirror reflects their presence long before the lights flash. Her trained mind doesn't panic. It calculates possibilities. She checks her speed. Exactly the limit. All signals used properly, no violations. She understands precisely what is happening, but her face remains a mask of civilian normalcy. The cruiser's lights flash. Anya signals and pulls over in a perfect, smooth motion, coming to a complete stop. She places both hands on the steering wheel, open and visible. The officers approach, their movements a practiced, coordinated dance of intimidation. As Ryan Miller approaches Anya's window, he doesn't realize their entire interaction is being documented by systems far more sophisticated than his department-issued body camera. Ryan approaches with deliberate slowness, his hand resting on his holstered firearm. The beam of his flashlight sweeps across Anya's face, lingering longer than professionally necessary. "License and registration," he demands, offering no reason for the stop. "May I ask why I was pulled over, officer?" Anya's voice remains perfectly modulated, a calm counterpoint to his aggression. "You rolled through that stop sign back there," Ryan lies effortlessly. "License and registration, now." Anya nods, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. My registration is in the glove compartment, and my license is in my purse on the passenger seat. I'm going to reach for them now. Just do it slowly, Ryan says impatiently. Ben stands back, positioned strategically to cover his partner, his gaze fixed on Anya. He misinterprets her trained composure as the suspicious calm of a seasoned criminal. Anya provides the documents. Ryan studies her license, his eyebrows rising at the Virginia address and the federal government ID. Government employee. Ryan's tone becomes more aggressive, a mix of suspicion and resentment. You're a long way from D.C. I'm visiting my sister, Anya responds smoothly. In this neighborhood? His disbelief carries an unmistakable undertone of accusation. My sister is a private nurse for a family here, she provides. The cover story is practiced, plausible, and designed for this exact scrutiny. Ryan exchanges a loaded glance with Ben. Ma'am, please step out of the vehicle. May I ask why? I don't believe I've done anything to— Step out of the vehicle, Ryan repeats, his voice louder, his hand now gripping his weapon. Anya recognizes the escalation, the point of no return in this dangerous script. I'm complying, officer, she states clearly, but I want it on the record that I do not consent to a search of my property without probable cause. She steps out, maintaining perfect balance despite the adrenaline coursing through her. Her CIA training takes over, allowing her to appear appropriately nervous to a civilian eye while her mind catalogs every procedural violation. Stand over here with my partner, Ryan directs, gesturing to the rear of the vehicle as he begins to examine her car. As Ben blocks Anya's direct line of sight, she catches a glimpse of Ryan reaching into his own tactical vest pocket before he moves to the far side of her car. Well, I found something, Ryan announces with artificial surprise. A moment later, he emerges holding a small plastic baggie of white powder. Look what we have here. Anya's eyes narrow. That is not mine. You just planted that. Ryan's expression hardens into a mask of offended authority. Excuse me? Are you accusing an officer of the law of tampering with evidence? I am stating a fact, Anya responds, her voice unwavering. That bag was not in my vehicle before you searched it. Ben steps forward, his professional facade firmly in place. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. This is wrong, Anya states, her voice clear and loud enough for any potential witnesses or recording devices. I did not consent to this search, and that evidence was planted by Officer Miller. Shut up and turn around, Ryan snaps, his composure fraying. Anya complies, knowing that physical resistance now would only lead to a worse outcome. The cold metal of the handcuffs bites into her wrists, tightened deliberately to cause pain. Ben performs a pat-down that lingers uncomfortably, another small act of degradation. Lights flip on in neighboring houses. Curious faces appear in windows, drawn by the drama unfolding on their quiet street. The officers make no attempt to shield Anya from public view, positioning her prominently under the harsh glare of a streetlight where everyone can witness her humiliation. Ryan calls for backup, his voice pitched to Carrie. We've got an uncooperative female with a significant quantity of narcotics, requesting additional units for transport. I have been perfectly cooperative, Anya states clearly, ensuring the watching neighbors, her unwitting witnesses, hear her. As Ryan guides her toward the patrol car, he leans in close, his voice a venomous whisper. Should have stayed in your own part of town. Ben adds with false professionalism as he closes the door. Ma'am, possession with intent to distribute is a very serious felony charge. Then, leaning in, he whispers, You people always think you're above the law. Through the window, Anya watches the officers continue their search of her vehicle. When they believe no one is watching, they exchange a celebratory fist bump. The system has just swallowed Anya whole, chewing her up with practiced efficiency. Do you think Miller and Carter even see her as a person at this point? Or just another statistic to bolster their careers? What does it say about a system where two officers can shatter a life with a lie and a fist bump? At the station, the process of systematic degradation continues. The desk sergeant barely glances at her as she's photographed, fingerprinted, and relieved of her personal belongings. Each officer, each functionary she encounters, treats her with the same dismissive contempt, the same presumption of guilt. Throughout this ordeal, Anya's mind operates with the cool, machine-like precision of a trained operative. She notes names, badge numbers, procedural violations, witnesses on the street. Every detail is filed away with perfect recall. Her CIA training allows her to project an image of distress and fear while maintaining complete situational awareness. The cell door clangs shut behind her. She sits on the hard bench, her head bowed, appearing defeated for the benefit of the monitoring cameras. In the privacy of the cell, beyond the camera's direct line of sight, Anya's expression transforms from victim to predator. She whispers to the silent room. Operational assessment complete. Time to activate countermeasures. Morning brings the processed monotony of the justice system. Anya stands before a disinterested magistrate for her initial appearance, listening impassively as bail is set at an exorbitant amount. "One phone call," the deputy announces afterward, leading her to a greasy, wall-mounted phone. Anya punches in a number memorized for just such a contingency. Not family, not a standard attorney, but a secure CIA contact line. She carefully modulates her voice to sound upset yet controlled. "Hey, it's me," she begins, the ordinary greeting masking the activation of a critical protocol. "Yeah, I'm in big trouble. I got arrested last night." She relays the core facts. "They planted drugs, heroin, in my car, 2 officers, Ryan Miller, badge number 734, Ben Carter, badge number 8112. She embeds coded phrases between the seemingly panicked words, conveying her exact location, the nature of the frame-up, and the specific level of response required. To any observer, she sounds like a distressed young woman calling a powerful friend. To her handler, Robert Vance, she is activating the agency's unwritten protocol for a compromised deep cover agent. Just need you to contact my cousin about that investment we discussed last month," she finishes, the phrase coding a request for specific, deniable resources. 4 hours later, Anya's bail is posted by a well-dressed woman identifying herself as Anya's aunt, a lawyer from a prestigious DC firm. The money flows through untraceable CIA channels, but the paperwork reflects a simple family intervention. As she's being processed for release, Anya overhears Miller and Carter in a nearby break room. "Did you see her face when you pulled that bag out?" Miller laughs, the sound ugly and loud. "Priceless. These people just never learn." "Coming into our neighborhoods like they own the place?" Carter responds, his voice full of derision. "That makes 3 this month. Miller and Carter, keeping the streets of Austin clean." "And our record's spotless," Miller adds with a smirk. "Another perfect conviction rate in the making." At her nondescript safe-house apartment, Anya enters her bedroom and activates a hidden mechanism in her walk-in closet. A panel slides open, revealing a secure, soundproofed room. She steps inside, the door sealing silently behind her. The room contains a bank of monitors and sophisticated surveillance equipment. Anya activates the system with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, personnel files, internal affairs complaint histories, financial records, and social media accounts for Ryan Miller and Ben Carter populate her screens. Her secure phone rings. It's Vance. "Anya, this is an unofficial channel," he begins, his voice tight. "The agency's official position is that you should let this go. The charges can be quietly dismissed through our liaisons. It's not worth compromising your operational status." "This isn't just about me, Robert," Anya counters, her voice firm, stripped of its earlier manufactured distress. "These officers have a clear pattern. They're abusing their authority systematically, targeting minorities with planted evidence. That's a local law enforcement issue, not our jurisdiction, not our problem," her handler responds, though his tone lacks conviction, suggesting a personal disagreement with the official line. "It became our problem the moment they targeted a federal agent," Anya argues forcefully. "I need resources, minimal and completely deniable." A long pause hangs on the line. "What exactly are you planning?" "Justice," Anya replies simply. "By the book, through their own system, but with a full deck of cards." Another pause. "Limited support only. Nothing that can be traced back to Langley. You're on your own, officially." After ending the call, Anya contacts Chloe Park, a brilliant technical analyst from her CIA team who is currently on a sabbatical. "Chloe, I need your help," Anya explains, methodically outlining the situation. "Those bastards," Chloe responds without hesitation. "What do you need?" "Your unique brand of technical expertise, completely off the books." Together, they vet and contact Marcus Thorne, a former state prosecutor turned high-profile defense attorney known for his aggressive and successful litigation in police misconduct cases. "Ms. Sharma," Marcus greets her in his downtown office. "This story is unfortunately common. Proving evidence was planted is, however, extraordinarily difficult. I have resources that your typical clients do not," Anya responds carefully. "And I have the will to fight this all the way through." Marcus studies her, his sharp eyes missing nothing. "Most people in your position are pressured into taking a plea deal." "I am not most people," Anya replies, her gaze unwavering. "And this is no longer just about my case." As Anya finalizes her legal strategy with Thorne, Vance calls with alarming news. "We have a flag. Officer Ryan Miller has a connection to a case you consulted on 5 years ago, an arms trafficking ring." The preliminary hearing unfolds in a wood-paneled courtroom saturated with institutional indifference. Anya sits beside Marcus, her posture perfect, her face an unreadable mask hiding the furious calculations of the strategist beneath. Prosecutor Daniel Evans approaches the evidence table with the practiced confidence of a man who rarely loses. He places the plastic bag of heroin before the judge. "Your Honor, during a routine and lawful traffic stop, Officers Miller and Carter discovered this significant quantity of a controlled substance, heroin, hidden beneath the driver's seat. The amount is consistent with intent to distribute." Evans presents the body camera footage, which conveniently begins several seconds after the traffic stop was initiated, showing only the seemingly professional discovery of the evidence and Anya's subsequent arrest. Ryan Miller takes the stand first, his demeanor a careful blend of professional earnestness and civic duty. He recounts the traffic stop with practiced ease, a story he has told many times before. "The defendant was argumentative and evasive from the very beginning," Miller testifies, the lie flowing smoothly from his lips. "Her nervous behavior led me to believe she was engaged in criminal activity." Marcus makes notes, but doesn't interrupt, allowing Miller to build the house of cards that will soon become his prison. "And when you searched the vehicle, what did you find?" Evans asks. "A bag containing approximately 1 ounce of heroin, hidden under the driver's seat, Miller replies, his voice full of gravity. Based on my training and experience, this quantity is indicative of intent to sell. Ben Carter follows, his testimony a perfect, harmonious echo of his partner's account, adding small, reinforcing details while carefully avoiding any potential inconsistencies. When the cross-examination begins, Marcus Thorne rises with a deceptive, almost lazy casualness. Officer Miller, you stated you were wearing a body camera. At what time did you activate it during this traffic stop? Miller hesitates for a microsecond. As soon as I exited my vehicle to approach the defendant's car, per department policy. Interesting, Marcus responds, his tone mild. Yet the timestamp on the video file begins several minutes after the initial stop would have occurred. Can you explain that discrepancy? Technical malfunction, Miller responds smoothly. It happens sometimes. The devices can be unreliable. Marcus nods as if this is a perfectly reasonable explanation, then pivots. Officer Miller, in your 7-year career, how many official complaints for racial profiling have been filed against you? Objection! Evans shouts, leaping to his feet. Irrelevant and prejudicial. Sustained, Judge Reed agrees immediately. Marcus shifts his strategy without missing a beat. Officer Miller, please walk the court through the exact sequence of observations and events that led you to establish probable cause to search Mrs. Sharma's vehicle. As Miller navigates this trickier legal terrain, attempting to justify the search without admitting to the lie about the stop sign, Ben Carter shifts uncomfortably in his seat, the first visible crack in his confident facade. In the gallery, Anya observes a man watching the proceedings with unusual intensity. Using her training, she quickly identifies him from the file photos Chloe pulled. David Chen, an internal affairs investigator who, according to the files, has been quietly monitoring Miller and Carter for months. Meanwhile, miles away, Chloe works from a secure, remote location, her fingers flying across a keyboard. She is hacking into city traffic cameras and the security systems of private businesses near the arrest location, compiling footage that tells a story starkly different from the one told under oath. Judge Reed rules there is sufficient evidence to proceed to trial, but Marcus's pointed questioning has successfully planted the first seeds of doubt. As the hearing concludes, Miller's phone vibrates with a text from an unknown encrypted number. We know what you did. Not just to her. To all of them. The 2 weeks before the trial transform Anya's secure room into a high-tech command center. Multiple screens display complex timelines, evidence logs, and hours of surveillance footage. Chloe's fingers are a blur across her keyboard, digital doors and encrypted firewalls opening before her world-class expertise. I've got a definitive pattern, Chloe announces one evening, her voice tinny over the secure comms link. 9 cases in the past 2 years, all involving minority drivers, all in wealthy, predominantly white neighborhoods, and all featuring planted evidence discovered during so-called routine traffic stops. Anya reviews the data streaming onto her screen. All of them prosecuted by Daniel Evans? 7 of the 9, Chloe confirms. And every single one resulted in a conviction or a coerced plea deal. Marcus enters the room, carrying a stack of legal briefs that threatens to topple over. I've filed motions to include evidence of pattern and practice, but Evans is fighting like hell to exclude it, calling it prejudicial. Judge Reed seems sympathetic to the prosecution's position, as usual. We need something more, Anya decides, her eyes fixed on the faces of the other victims Chloe has identified. Something undeniable. That evening, Anya meets David Chen in a nondescript diner, a neutral ground far from both their official territories. Unofficially, Chen begins, taking a sip of his coffee without looking at her, I've been building a case against Miller and Carter for almost 2 years. They're careful. Internal complaints get buried by their supervisors, witnesses get intimidated, and physical evidence conveniently disappears. But you kept watching, Anya observes. 15 years in IA teaches you patience, Chen replies. But I've never had a victim who was willing and able to fight back with actual resources. He slides a napkin across the table, on which are handwritten notes. A list of departmental procedures they violated during your arrest. Things only an insider would know. I can't testify to this, not yet, but it gives your lawyer a roadmap. Across town, Ryan Miller paces his living room, agitated. His phone displays another anonymous message. Your partner's financial records show a series of unexplained cash deposits. Does your wife know about that offshore account you opened last year? Ben Carter arrives, his normally composed demeanor fractured by deep concern. We need to talk. These messages, who is sending them? It has to be internal affairs, Ryan speculates. It's that weasel Chen. This feels more sophisticated, Carter counters, his analytical mind seeing a different pattern. They know things IA couldn't possibly have access to. The offshore account? How? We've been careful, Ryan insists, his voice rising. Maybe not careful enough, Ben says, studying his partner. This Sharma case, something feels different. She's too calm, too prepared. It's not right. The next morning, Anya and Marcus meet with Prosecutor Evans in his office. His expression is one of magnanimous generosity. Possession with intent, a serious felony, reduced to simple possession, Evans offers, leaning back in his chair. 12 months probation, no jail time. Given the strength of the evidence against your client, Ms. Sharma, this is more than fair. Marcus looks to Anya, his expression carefully neutral, but his eyes communicate that this might be the best strategic option they can hope for in a rigged system. Anya meets Evans's condescending gaze directly. I will not plead guilty to a crime I did not commit, especially when your star officers manufactured it from whole cloth. We'll see you in court. Evans sighs, a sound of patronizing disappointment. Your attorney should have advised you. An officer's sworn testimony carries significant weight with juries. This will not end well for you. We'll see, Anya repeats, rising to leave the room. As Chloe decodes the final pieces of surveillance footage, she discovers something that changes the entire tactical landscape. The high-resolution video not only shows the officers planting the evidence, but also captures a third officer watching from a distance, recording the entire illegal act on his personal cell phone. This is the turning point where the hunter becomes the hunted. Have you ever felt the satisfaction of watching someone who wronged you slowly realize their time is up? Is the pursuit of justice worth the risk when the system itself seems designed to protect the guilty? The courtroom buzzes with an unusual level of tension as the trial begins. Local media have picked up the story, intrigued by the sensational angle of a federal employee accusing police officers of a felony frame-up. The gallery is packed with spectators, including the quiet, stoic faces of several of Miller and Carter's previous victims, organized by a discreet communication from Chloe. Judge Evelyn Reed calls the court to order. Is the prosecution ready to proceed? Ready, Your Honor, Daniel Evans booms. Is the defense ready? Ready, Your Honor, Marcus Thorne states calmly. Daniel Evans approaches the jury for his opening statement, his confidence so thick it's almost a physical presence in the room. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is simple. It is straightforward. 2 decorated, experienced police officers conducted a lawful traffic stop and, in the course of their duty, discovered illegal narcotics, heroin, a poison on our streets. The evidence is clear, their testimony is consistent, and the law is unambiguous. He gestures toward Anya. The defendant's outrageous accusation of a conspiracy against her is not just unfounded, it is a desperate, cynical attempt to avoid responsibility for her criminal actions. Marcus Thorne's opening presents a stark contrast, measured, methodical, and chillingly precise. "This case is not about drugs," he begins, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the room. "It is about a profound abuse of power. The evidence will show that Officers Miller and Carter have a documented, systematic history of targeting minorities, conducting illegal searches, and falsifying evidence to secure convictions." He looks at each juror in turn. "Ms. Sharma did not commit a crime. Her only offense was driving through the wrong neighborhood while having the wrong skin color." The prosecution presents its case with well-rehearsed theatrical emphasis. The bag of heroin is displayed for the jury in a sealed evidence container. A crime lab technician testifies to its purity and weight. "Street value would be approximately $3,000, he states, a figure meant to imply a level of sophistication beyond that of a casual user. Miller and Carter take the stand in succession, their testimonies perfectly aligned, polished and refined by hours of preparation with the prosecutor. They describe Anya as confrontational, suspicious, and evasive. Several jury members nod along, their expressions reflecting an implicit, pre-existing trust in the testimony of law enforcement officers. In Anya's command center, Chloe breaks through the final layer of Ben Carter's encrypted phone records. Text messages populate her screen, a secret history of corruption. Dozens of exchanges between Miller and Carter discussing their racket. Carter: "These rich neighborhoods are gold mines. Rich folks give commendations, and there's less risk." Miller: "Exactly. These people don't want any trouble. Plus, watching these entitled minorities finally realize they're not untouchable. Priceless." Chloe compiles the most damning exchanges, encrypts them, and transmits them securely to Marcus Thorne's tablet just minutes before cross-examination begins. In the courtroom, Marcus approaches Ben Carter with that same deliberate, casual air. "Officer Carter, you testified that you've worked as Officer Miller's partner for 4 years. Is that correct?" "Yes, that's correct." "And you consider yourselves to be an effective, highly decorated team?" "One of the best in the department," Carter confirms, his confidence radiating. Marcus nods thoughtfully. "You've made numerous arrests for narcotics violations together?" "Yes, sir. Our arrest and conviction record speaks for itself." "Indeed it does," Marcus agrees softly, then pivots sharply. "Officer Carter, do you recall sending a text message to Officer Miller on March 17th of this year stating, and I quote, 'North Hills has gotten too cautious. Let's try the Westlake area for some easier busts this week'?" Carter's composure instantly cracks. The blood drains from his face. I don't recall that specific message." "Perhaps this will refresh your memory," Marcus continues, producing a printed transcript. "People's Exhibit 47, Your Honor, the certified text message logs for Officer Carter's personal cell phone, obtained via subpoena to his telecommunications provider." The prosecutor leaps to his feet. "Objection. Defense counsel is attempting to introduce evidence that was not provided in discovery." "Your Honor," Marcus counters calmly, "these records were only obtained via subpoena last week, after the discovery deadline. The prosecution received copies this morning, as required by law. I have the signed receipt of acknowledgement right here." The judge examines the document, her expression grim. "Objection is overruled. The witness will answer the question." Carter stares at the transcript, his calculated mind visibly running through 1,000 scenarios and finding no escape. As he stammers through a series of unconvincing explanations and denials, the main courtroom doors open. A woman in a severe, formal suit walks directly to the defense table and hands Marcus Thorne a sealed, classified envelope. The arrival of this document creates an immediate, palpable ripple of confusion and speculation throughout the courtroom. Judge Reed's gavel cracks sharply against the sound block. "Counselors, approach the bench, now." Marcus, document in hand, joins a sputtering Daniel Evans before the judge. Their hushed, intense conference grows more heated by the second. The prosecutor's face flushes a deep red, while the judge's expression transforms from simple irritation to genuine alarm. "This court will be in recess for 20 minutes, Judge Reed announces abruptly, her voice strained. The courtroom empties with a buzz of reluctant compliance. Ryan Miller leans toward Ben Carter, whispering urgently, "What the hell is that? What's going on?" But Carter keeps his gaze fixed forward, his strategic mind no longer planning an attack, but calculating an escape route from a battle he now knows is lost. When court reconvenes, the atmosphere has undergone a tectonic shift. 3 new individuals, somber and severe in dark suits, now occupy the back row of the gallery. The prosecutor's earlier blustering confidence has completely evaporated, replaced by a pale, sickly pallor. "Your Honor," Marcus Thorne begins, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "The defense calls Dr. Lena Petrova to the stand." A commanding woman in her 50s approaches the witness box. After being sworn in, she states her credentials. "I am the director of the Forensic Video and Audio Analysis Unit at Quantico. I hold a Level 5 national security clearance." "Dr. Petrova, have you had occasion to analyze video footage related to the traffic stop and subsequent arrest of Anya Sharma?" "I have," she confirms. "My team processed and authenticated footage from multiple sources, including municipal traffic cameras, private security systems, and a set of specialized, proprietary recording devices." A large screen descends from the ceiling. Enhanced, time-stamped footage begins playing. It is crystal clear, perfectly synced, and shot from a variety of angles. It shows the complete traffic stop from beginning to end, including unmistakable, high-definition images of Officer Ryan Miller removing a small bag from his own vest pocket moments before discovering it in Anya's car. Gasps and shocked murmurs ripple through the courtroom. Several jury members turn to stare openly at Miller with expressions of dawning disbelief and anger. "Objection!" the prosecutor interjects, a desperate, reflexive cry. "The defense has not established the chain of custody for this fabricated video." "Dr. Petrova," Marcus asks calmly, "can you confirm the authenticity of this footage for the court?" "I can," she states firmly, looking directly at the jury. "We verified the digital signatures, metadata, and timestamps from all sources. This footage has not been edited, altered, or tampered with in any way." The judge overrules the objection with a weary wave of her hand. Marcus turns toward the defense table. "Your Honor, I would now like to call Anya Sharma to the stand, not as the defendant in this case, but as an expert witness in her capacity as a Central Intelligence Agency operations officer specializing in international anti-corruption investigations." The courtroom erupts into chaos. Judge Reed's gavel cracks repeatedly, a desperate attempt to restore order. Ryan Miller's face drains of all color. Ben Carter sits perfectly still, a statue of calculating surrender, his mind now focused solely on self-preservation. After another tense, lengthy conference at the bench, Anya approaches the stand with measured confidence. The mask of the frightened civilian defendant has been discarded, replaced by the commanding presence of a federal agent. "Agent Sharma," Marcus begins, "in what capacity are you currently employed?" "I am a senior operations officer with the Central Intelligence Agency," Anya responds, her voice clear and steady. I specialize in anti-corruption and institutional integrity operations. I've served in this capacity for 12 years. Was your presence in Austin on April 17th related in any way to your official duties? No, Anya responds. I was on approved leave following a complex and sensitive overseas operation. The traffic stop initiated by Officers Miller and Carter was entirely unrelated to any official investigation I was conducting. And yet, you've testified under oath that these officers planted evidence in your vehicle. How can you be so certain? Anya leans slightly forward, her gaze sweeping across the stunned faces of the jury. Standard CIA operational protocol requires that all field agents' primary vehicles be equipped with multiple, covert recording devices. This is a safety measure designed to protect both the agent and the agency from compromise or false accusation. My vehicle contains 6 such devices, capturing synchronized high-definition audio and video from all angles. New footage begins playing on the screen, this time from inside the vehicle, showing a crystal-clear close-up shot of Ryan Miller's hand placing the bag of heroin under the driver's seat. Beyond the definitive video evidence, Anya continues, my professional training includes precise observational skills. I documented every procedural violation and mentally noted the exact moment Officer Miller removed the narcotics package from his right vest pocket, approximately 17 seconds before he pretended to discover it in my vehicle. Marcus nods slowly. Agent Sharma, has your subsequent investigation uncovered any potential explanation for why you, specifically, might have been targeted by these 2 officers? It has, Anya confirms. Her gaze shifts briefly, locking on to Ryan Miller. Officer Miller's brother, a man named Kevin Miller, was arrested 5 years ago as part of an international arms trafficking investigation that I was peripherally involved in. While I never met Officer Miller before that night, evidence suggests he discovered my identity through unauthorized access to federal and state law enforcement databases. This traffic stop was not random. He had been monitoring me, waiting for an opportunity for revenge. This revelation transforms the case entirely, from a story of simple, racist framing to the deliberate, premeditated targeting of a federal agent, a vastly more serious offense with dire national security implications. The courtroom absorbs this new reality in stunned silence. Several jury members now stare at Miller and Carter with open and undisguised contempt. No further questions, Your Honor, Marcus concludes. The prosecutor rises for cross-examination, his earlier swagger replaced by a desperate fumbling attempt at damage control. Agent Sharma, he stammers. If you were being unfairly targeted, why didn't you simply identify yourself as a federal agent during the traffic stop? For 2 primary reasons, Anya explains calmly. First, revealing my CIA affiliation is only authorized under protocol in immediate, life-threatening situations, which this was not. Second, and more importantly, doing so would have prevented the documentation of a pattern of criminal misconduct that has affected dozens of ordinary citizens who do not have the protection of a federal agency behind them. The prosecutor attempts several more questions, but each answer only serves to strengthen rather than weaken Anya's testimony. Finally, he surrenders with a resigned, "No further questions." As Anya returns to her seat, her gaze sweeps over Miller and Carter. For a brief moment, her professional mask slips, allowing them to see the cold, unyielding determination beneath. Just before she sits, she leans toward the prosecutor's table and adds in a low, clear voice, "And gentlemen, that's just what I'm authorized to reveal in open court." At this moment, the scales of justice haven't just tipped. They've been shattered. Anya used the system's own rules against it, but also relied on power and secrets unavailable to a regular citizen. Does this make her victory less pure? Or is this a necessary reality when fighting a corrupt system from within? The day after Anya's testimony, the U.S. Attorney's Office announces the formation of a special federal task force to review every single case handled by Officers Miller and Torres throughout their careers. U.S. Attorney Sofia Ramirez stands before a bank of microphones, her expression grave and determined. The evidence of prolonged and systematic misconduct is sufficiently concerning to warrant a comprehensive, top-to-bottom review, she states. Any individual who believes they were falsely charged or coerced into a plea based on the testimony or actions of these officers should contact our office immediately. Inside police headquarters, a series of emergency meetings cascades through the chain of command. The police chief, Robert Davis, convenes his senior staff, the air in the room thick with tension and the unspoken fear of what is to come. "This department is facing an existential crisis of confidence," he begins, his voice tight. "2 of our officers have potentially poisoned hundreds of cases and systematically undermined decades of community outreach. I want immediate, transparent reviews of every case they ever touched." Deputy Chief Ava Rostova raises the question everyone is silently dreading. "Sir, preliminary evidence from the trial suggests supervisory personnel may have been aware of or even encouraged this pattern. How deep will this federal investigation go?" The chief's expression hardens into granite. "All the way to bedrock, nobody gets a pass." Internal Affairs investigator David Chen, now a key witness, formally presents his extensive, once secret file to federal investigators. What was once a slow, carefully guarded internal investigation now unfolds under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. "I've been tracking their activities for 19 months, Chen explains to the federal agents. "My file identifies at least 23 individuals who appear to have been falsely charged based on a nearly identical pattern of planted evidence." Outside police headquarters, community activists, alerted by a network that traces back to Chloe, organize a demonstration that grows by the hour. Their chants for justice and accountability echo through the downtown streets, their signs bearing the names and faces of those who were previously convicted by the 2 officers' lies. In the prosecutor's office, Daniel Evans faces his own professional reckoning. The district attorney, Isabella Rossi, closes his office door with quiet deliberation. "Explain to me," she begins, her voice dangerously calm, "how you, as the lead prosecutor on these cases, missed or willfully ignored multiple red flags in these officers' arrest reports for years." Evans's professional composure finally fractures. "The complaints against them were always investigated by their own department and ruled unfounded. Their testimonies in court were perfectly consistent." "They were too perfect," Rossi interrupts, her voice like ice. "Too consistent, too convenient. Basic prosecutorial scrutiny should have raised serious questions long before a CIA agent was forced to expose this entire corrupt enterprise in open court." "What happens to me now?" Evans asks, his voice small. "The State Ethics Committee will review your handling of every single case involving these officers," Rossi states coldly. "In the meantime, you are on indefinite administrative leave, effective immediately. In Judge Evelyn Reed's chambers, a review process begins that will consume the court's resources for months to come." Her clerk presents the first towering stack of case files, convictions based primarily on the testimony of Ryan Miller and Ben Carter. "Begin with those individuals who are still incarcerated," the judge directs, her voice heavy with the weight of her role in the injustice. "There are 17, Your Honor," the clerk confirms quietly. The judge removes her glasses, pinching the bridge of her nose, looking suddenly much older. How did we all miss this? They testified in my courtroom dozens of times. The system is built on trusting the sworn testimony of officers, Your Honor, the clerk offers. A trust they took and weaponized against the very people we are all sworn to protect, Judge Reed responds. That ends today. Anya meets privately with the families of some of the other victims. She sits in a small, neat living room with Sofia Reyes, whose son, Leo, has spent 14 months in a state prison after Miller and Carter claimed to find a bag of cocaine in the back of his work van during a traffic stop. They told him no jury would ever believe his word over 2 decorated police officers, Sofia explains, tears tracking down her weathered face. The public defender told him his only choice was to take the plea deal or risk more than 10 years in prison. Anya takes the woman's hands in hers. The federal investigation will prioritize Leo's case. I have made certain of that. How can we fight a system that is this powerful? Sofia asks, her voice full of a despair born from experience. By being more strategic, more persistent, and absolutely relentless, Anya responds, a cold fire in her eyes. I am connecting your family with Marcus Thorne. He has agreed to take on these cases pro bono, and now he has all the evidence he needs to win. In a secure conference room at CIA headquarters in Langley, Director Thomas Sterling reviews the rapidly evolving situation with Robert Vance. What is our exposure risk? Director Sterling asks. Minimal, sir, Vance confirms. Agent Sharma maintained her cover appropriately and professionally until legal necessity dictated otherwise. Her decision to reveal her status was tactically sound and ultimately protected the agency from further complication. And the broader security implications? An agent being deliberately targeted on U.S. soil. That is now our primary concern, sir, Vance acknowledges. We are conducting a full internal review to determine if Miller's targeting of Sharma represents a singular act of revenge or a larger, more systemic security breach we have yet to uncover. As these vast institutional responses unfold, a more personal moment of victory occurs back in Marcus Thorne's office. He and Anya review the cascade of legal and political developments their case has triggered. 7 wrongful conviction cases are already scheduled for immediate judicial review, Marcus notes with deep satisfaction. Judge Reed has personally prioritized the cases of those still incarcerated. And the officers? Anya asks. Miller is facing a raft of federal charges, multiple civil rights violations, evidence tampering, perjury, and the very serious charge of retaliating against a federal agent. Carter's attorney is already signaling that his client is ready to cooperate fully in exchange for a plea deal and a recommendation for leniency. Anya's secure phone vibrates with an encrypted message from Chloe. She reviews it, her eyebrows rising in momentary surprise. A problem? Marcus inquires. Quite the opposite, Anya responds, a slow, grim smile spreading across her face. It seems some additional evidence has just emerged. It appears Miller and Carter's behavior wasn't just tolerated by their supervisors. It was part of an unofficial, unwritten departmental strategy. Command staff directed them toward specific neighborhoods and demographics, creating plausible deniability for themselves while benefiting from the arrest statistics their actions generated. As the investigations widen, an entire encrypted file appears on Anya's secure server from Chloe's efforts. It contains irrefutable evidence that Miller and Carter's reign of terror was actively encouraged and rewarded by high-ranking officials within the Austin Police Department. The preliminary hearing for Ryan Miller and Ben Carter takes place in a federal courtroom, a space far grander and more intimidating than where Anya's ordeal began. Every seat in the gallery is filled, Media representatives, community members, and a silent, powerful phalanx of Miller and Carter's previous victims sit watching, their very presence a testimony to lives derailed and futures stolen. U.S. Attorney Sofia Ramirez presents the government's case with cold, methodical precision. "The evidence will show," she states, her voice ringing with conviction, "that these two men, while wearing the uniform of a trusted public servant, engaged in a deliberate, malicious pattern of civil rights violations spanning years. They systematically targeted minority citizens with fabricated evidence, resulting in false imprisonments that have devastated families and entire communities." Ryan Miller sits rigid in his expensive suit, the muscles in his jaw clenching and unclenching. Ben Carter appears more resigned, his calculated mind already processing the bleak arithmetic of his limited options. The evidence unfolds relentlessly. The damning video footage from Anya's car, the text messages, financial records showing a series of unexplained cash deposits into offshore accounts, and the gut-wrenching testimonies from previous victims who had long ago given up hope for justice. With each new piece of evidence, the space between the two former partners widens, their unified front of lies crumbling into dust. During a recess, Ben Carter's attorney is seen approaching the prosecution table. The hushed, intense conversation that follows results in Carter being escorted from the courtroom to a private conference room. When court resumes an hour later, his attorney addresses the judge. "Your Honor, my client, Mr. Carter, wishes to cooperate fully with the government's ongoing investigation. In exchange for formal consideration at sentencing, Officer Carter will provide complete and comprehensive testimony regarding departmental practices and the full scope of the misconduct." A wave of murmurs sweeps through the spectators as Miller's head snaps toward his former partner, his face a mask of raw disbelief and white-hot betrayal. Carter's testimony begins with a clinical, chilling detachment, his natural tendency toward calculation now focused entirely on minimizing his own legal consequences. "The targeting of minorities in wealthy neighborhoods. It wasn't random," he explains. "It was part of an unofficial, unwritten departmental policy that the supervisors called community standard enforcement." "Please explain this policy to the court," the prosecutor requests. "Supervisors would never state the directive explicitly, never in writing," Carter explains, his eyes fixed on a point in the middle distance. "But the message from command staff was clear. Maintain the so-called character of certain high-value neighborhoods by creating pretexts to stop and search any individuals who didn't look like they belonged there. Those who fit the profile, primarily Black and Hispanic drivers in affluent areas, became our primary targets." And the planted evidence? "Initially, we focused on legitimate, minor infractions. An expired registration, a broken taillight. But the department rewarded felony drug arrests far more significantly. It meant promotions, guaranteed overtime, special assignments. The incentive structure was unmistakable." Who specifically authorized this approach? Captain James Reynolds created the unofficial program. Lieutenant Thomas Hayes was responsible for implementing it at the precinct level. And Sergeant William Foster was our direct supervisor, the one who tracked our stats and encouraged our methods. Julian names the names with a cold, dispassionate efficiency. Miller's composure finally shatters. He lunges to his feet, his face contorted with a deep, volcanic rage. "You lying piece of... You were all in on it. You kept the records. You were the one who planned the neighborhoods we hit." "Restrain the defendant," the judge orders, as two federal marshals move quickly to control the erupting Miller. Miller continues to scream, his voice rising with each word, the venom of his ideology now on full display. "You don't belong in those neighborhoods. None of you do. We were just keeping things the way they're supposed to be." His outburst devolves into a torrent of explicit racial slurs and threats, a shocking eruption that visibly stuns even his own attorney. The marshals wrestle Miller from the courtroom, his unfiltered hatred echoing down the long corridor. When the proceedings resume, Carter continues his testimony, revealing the existence of a secret departmental messaging group on an encrypted app where officers shared success stories of fabricated arrests and openly discussed targeting strategies. "We called it community gardening," Carter explains, his clinical tone making the racist ideology behind the euphemism even more chilling. "We were weeding out the undesirables. Officers who expressed concern or refused to participate were excluded from overtime opportunities and passed over for promotions." 3 high-ranking police officers are implicated directly by Carter's testimony. By the end of the day, federal agents are executing sweeping search warrants at the police precinct, seizing computers, hard drives, and file cabinets full of records. The following morning, a transformed Ryan Miller appears for his bail hearing with a new, court-appointed attorney. The professional mask of the dedicated officer has been discarded entirely, revealing the raw, undisguised prejudice that fueled his actions. The prosecutor addresses the court. "Your Honor, given the defendant's violent outburst in this courtroom yesterday, his specific threats against witnesses, and the serious nature of these ongoing charges, the government requests he be remanded without bail." The judge studies Miller, who glares back with open defiance. Bail is denied. The defendant has demonstrated beyond any doubt that he poses a significant danger to the community. As Miller is led away in handcuffs, his former partner, Ben Carter, receives his own judgment. A substantial prison sentence, but one significantly reduced in acknowledgement of his cooperation. Before exiting the courtroom, Carter pauses, his gaze finding Anya, who sits observing silently from the gallery. "I'm sorry," he mouths, the words utterly inadequate against the sheer magnitude of the harm he and his partner have inflicted. Anya acknowledges him with a slight, almost imperceptible nod, recognizing that while remorse can never erase the damage, it represents a small but necessary step toward a justice that must extend beyond herself to every single person whose life was derailed by this deep-seated corruption. As the disgraced officers are led away to begin their sentences, Anya receives a call from Director Sterling at the CIA. The case has not only secured justice, but has also exposed critical vulnerabilities in the protection of agents operating on domestic soil, prompting an urgent agency-wide reassessment. Carter's betrayal of Miller was a calculated act of self-preservation. But was there also a glimmer of conscience? In the face of overwhelming guilt, is it possible to separate genuine remorse from a simple desire to get a better deal? What do you think his "I'm sorry" truly meant? 6 months transform abstract promises into concrete, institutional reforms. The Austin Police Department buzzes with implementation teams as a wave of new protocols, technologies, and oversight bodies reshape its very structure. Chief Wilson, having narrowly survived the initial scandal, addresses a mixed group of officers and members of the new Civilian Oversight Board. From this day forward, every single interaction with the public is to be recorded continuously, from the moment of initial observation until the interaction is fully concluded. There will be no exceptions and no more technical malfunctions. A veteran sergeant raises his hand, skeptical. "Chief, what about legitimate privacy concerns for officers?" "The privacy of law-abiding civilians will be protected through strict, audited access controls to the footage," the chief responds, his tone leaving no room for argument. "But the conduct of our officers while on duty is no longer a matter of trust alone. It is a matter of verification. That will be our new standard procedure. The newly established Civilian Oversight Board holds its first meeting in a repurposed municipal conference room, its authority now backed by independent subpoena power and its own dedicated investigative staff. 12 members, deliberately chosen for their diverse backgrounds and experiences, review body camera footage with the methodical, skeptical attention previously reserved for a handful of overworked internal affairs detectives. This case shows precisely why allowing buffer periods or officer-controlled recording is problematic, notes the board's chairperson, Dr. Elaine Jackson, a retired federal judge. Officers Miller and Carter exploited those procedural gaps repeatedly to construct their false narratives. Beyond these technical changes, the department undergoes a forced cultural reconstruction. Mandatory annual bias training now includes concrete, interactive scenarios based directly on the Miller-Carter cases, with clear identification of behavioral warning signs and explicit protected reporting procedures. Simply recognizing your own bias is no longer enough, the diversity and inclusion consultant explains to a room of stone-faced lieutenants. We are implementing a zero-tolerance policy for profiling, with specific, non-negotiable consequences. The new reporting mechanism bypasses the traditional chain of command when necessary, ensuring that any and all complaints reach the appropriate oversight body, regardless of where in the departmental hierarchy the problem may exist in. Several long-serving officers resign rather than adapt to the new standards of accountability. Their departures open up positions for a younger, more diverse recruitment class that better reflects the community's actual composition. Those who remain undergo extensive retraining and are subject to regular, randomized psychological evaluations. The entire emphasis of performance evaluation shifts from raw arrest statistics to measurable community engagement and problem-solving metrics, fundamentally altering the very definition of good policing. Downtown, the Austin City Council establishes a multi-million-dollar compensation fund for the victims of false arrests and planted evidence. The streamlined claim process acknowledges that true justice requires more than just policy changes. It demands concrete, tangible redress for the specific harms inflicted on individuals. We have approved 19 claims to date, reports the fund's administrator to the council members. Compensation packages include not only financial settlements, but also dedicated resources for criminal record expungement, educational and vocational opportunities, and long-term counseling services for victims and their families. Within the CIA, Anya now heads a newly created, specialized task force charged with developing new protocols for domestic agent protection and, more controversially, consulting with federal and state agencies on law enforcement oversight. Her harrowing personal experience provides invaluable insights into institutional vulnerabilities that had been previously overlooked or ignored. The intersection between law enforcement operations and intelligence activities on U.S. soil contains significant and dangerous blind spots, she explains to her hand-picked team of analysts and former agents. Our field agents' personal security depends on our ability to address these systemic issues. The resulting policy recommendations are eventually implemented nationwide, creating new, stronger safeguards for agents operating domestically, while also establishing clearer, brighter lines between intelligence-gathering activities and routine law enforcement. Marcus Thorne emerges as a leading national voice in police reform, leveraging the non-classified details of Anya's case as a compelling, unassailable example of how even the most entrenched systemic abuses can be effectively challenged and dismantled. Chloe Park, whose technical expertise proved so decisive, now works with a specialized unit within the Justice Department developing sophisticated next-generation systems for analyzing and authenticating police body cam footage. Her new algorithms can detect subtle signs of video tampering and establish an unbroken, verifiable chain of digital custody, making the kind of evidence manipulation practiced by Miller and Carter exponentially more difficult to conceal. These reforms ripple far beyond a single city department, influencing policing standards and training protocols across multiple jurisdictions. The Austin case becomes required reading in police academies and law schools alike, dissected for its cascading systemic failures and ultimately for the powerful corrective mechanisms it spawned. At a national law enforcement conference, Anya is invited as an anonymous, high-level subject matter expert to speak about her experience, and in a moment of stunning irony, finds herself face-to-face with the former police chief, who was ultimately forced to resign after investigations revealed he knowingly enabled Miller and Carter's behavior for years. 1 year transforms justice from a distant aspiration into a tangible, lived reality. Anya's office at CIA headquarters is sparse, containing a single memento from the case, a framed court order formally dismissing all charges against her. It is displayed not as a trophy of personal vindication, but as a stark reminder of systems that are both dangerously broken and, ultimately, capable of healing. Her recent promotion is a quiet acknowledgement from the agency of her exceptional handling of an impossible situation. Maintaining operational security while ensuring public justice, protecting the institution's interests while simultaneously addressing fundamental societal wrongs. Her new responsibilities include overseeing agent safety protocols nationwide, a role that transforms her personal ordeal into a shield for others. Occasionally, she reviews progress reports on the ongoing reforms in the Austin Police Department. The changes appear to have substantive, lasting impact. Citizen complaints are down, use of force incidents have plummeted, and community satisfaction metrics are showing slow but significant improvement. Ryan Miller serves his long sentence in a maximum security federal facility. His multiple convictions for civil rights violations and retaliating against a federal agent, ensuring he will remain there for decades. His uncontrolled rage has calcified into a bitter, unrepentant resentment. His prison communications are still actively monitored for continued threats. Ben Carter occupies a minimum security facility on the other side of the country. His cooperation earned him both a drastically reduced sentence and the possibility of early release for good behavior. His calculated, analytical mind now focuses on survival and a quiet, carefully planned path toward some form of redemption. He provides ongoing, crucial testimony against the higher-ranking officers he implicated, helping federal prosecutors dismantle the corrupt command structure he once so effectively navigated. The neighborhood where Anya was first pulled over has also transformed. Residents who witnessed her public humiliation from their windows have formed a new kind of community watch program, one focused not on reporting suspicious people, but on observing and documenting police interactions to ensure accountability and safety for everyone who passes through. Marcus Thorne has established a nonprofit legal center in downtown Austin specializing in police misconduct cases, with a particular focus on racial profiling and evidence tampering. Operating from a suite of modest offices, the center provides top-tier legal representation to those who lack Anya's extraordinary resources or position. To date, many of Miller and Carter's victims have had their wrongful convictions overturned through the center's dedicated efforts. On a crisp autumn morning, Anya visits one such family, that of Leon Washington, a young man who spent 26 months in prison after Miller and Carter planted heroin in his car during a stop nearly identical to hers. Released from prison 4 months ago, he is working 2 jobs to try and rebuild a life interrupted by systematic injustice. They sit in his mother's tidy living room, the conversation flowing with an unexpected, quiet ease. Anya doesn't reveal her CIA connection, presenting herself simply as an advocate, someone who experienced a similar injustice and had the means to fight back. The hardest part isn't just the time you lose, Leon explains, his hands wrapped tightly around a coffee mug. It's the feeling that the system, the people in charge, can just decide your truth, and it doesn't matter what the real truth is. Anya nods, a deep, resonant understanding passing between them. That violation of basic fairness. It lingers long after you're vindicated. Exactly, Leon says, studying her thoughtfully. How did you find the strength to fight back? My public defender told me I had no chance. Most people just take the plea. And by recognizing, very early on, that it was no longer just about me, Anya answers carefully. Individual cases are important, but challenging the system that enables the abuse is what creates protection for everyone else. Later, walking back to her government-issued car, Anya's secure phone vibrates. Her handler's name, Robert Vance, appears on the screen. That little community outreach visit wasn't in your official job description, Agent Sharma, he notes without preamble. Some responsibilities transcend job descriptions, Robert, she responds simply. A long pause stretches between their two distant worlds. Would you have handled anything differently? He asks, his voice serious. Knowing the immense professional risk you took? Your deep cover, your entire career, could have been permanently compromised. Anya considers the question with genuine, quiet reflection. Justice isn't just about winning individual cases. It's about changing the systems that enable injustice in the first place. And sometimes, changing the system requires taking calculated, necessary risks. The director sends his regards, Vance adds after another pause. The new domestic operational protocols you developed are being implemented across all divisions. Your experience is already protecting other agents in the field. That's what matters, Anya concludes as she starts her car and drives away. The neighborhood looks different to her now than it did on that night 1 year ago. Not because the physical landscape has changed, but because the human ecosystem operating within it has begun the long, arduous process of genuine transformation. The case that began with a single, corrupt, racist traffic stop has catalyzed a wave of change extending far beyond 2 disgraced officers or 1 municipal police department. The ripples continue to spread, altering institutional behaviors, reshaping legal precedents, and transforming community expectations in ways both measurable and profound. True power isn't the ability to harm, to control, or to dominate. It's the courage to stand against systemic injustice, even, and especially, when you have to stand alone. If you've been moved by Anya's story of courage, justice, and redemption, don't let this be the end of your journey. Hit that subscribe button right now to join the Chronicles of Justice community, where we bring you powerful, gripping tales of triumph against all odds. Each week, we deliver stories that not only entertain and inspire, but also shine a bright, unflinching light on the critical social issues that affect us all. Give this video a thumbs up if you believe in the power of one person to stand up against injustice, and help us spread these important messages. Your likes and shares directly help us reach more people with these transformative stories. This isn't just the end of a story. It's the beginning of a conversation, a movement, a demand for what happens when truth is finally given a voice. At Chronicles of Justice, we believe that exposure is the first, essential step toward transformation. Subscribe and stay tuned, because the next story could change the way you see the world.